Hey guys, it's Brenda. So I wanted to come and give a health update. As many of you know, I've been having issues for about 3 months, and I'm going to give a little warning here for any of my male viewers or anybody who doesn't want to hear about any female issues. Please exit out of this video because I'm going to get pretty candid about what I will be going through. When I was having these issues, I searched on YouTube to try and find answers, to try and find something, and there isn't very much stuff on there at all. So I want to kind of be informative and possibly help other people with this video. So countdown, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. 3 months ago, I woke up in a lot of pain, and I had been having issues for the last year where I just was getting really bad periods and cramping, and I really didn't understand what was going on. And I even got to the point where I told my husband that I thought maybe I was going through early menopause, just because I've always been one that's really driven, very goal-oriented, and I just was feeling, I wouldn't really say depressed, but just not motivated and very low energy. Well, I woke up in the middle of the night and I was having really bad cramps. I mean, super bad, and I couldn't understand why. And then I woke up in the morning and I was getting ready for work, and it just wouldn't go away, and it kept getting worse and worse and worse to the point where I couldn't sit down. It felt like this pressure, excuse me for being very open here, but there was pressure like on my bowels. It felt like I had to go number 2, but I couldn't, and it hurt when I urinated. And I had some bleeding, and it wasn't time for my period. And then it started getting worse and worse and worse, and to the point where I told my husband, I think I'm going to have to go to the hospital. And he said, well, let's see what happens. Why don't you lay down on the couch? And which I couldn't. He was outside doing something, and he came back in, and I was actually on the floor because I couldn't be on the couch, and I was in just so much pain. And luckily, by that time, the walk-in clinic had opened, so we went in there, and they got me in for an MRI, which found that I had 3 cysts and some fibroids and some other things going on, and that one of the cysts had ruptured and filled like my pelvis, the cavity of my pelvis, with blood, which is what was causing all the pain. It took 2 months for that cyst to heal, and I had 3 ultrasounds, and there was still like lots of fluid in there, and your body just does not do well with that. And so there was a tremendous amount of pain, and my pain's been getting like progressively worse. One day will be okay, and then the next day will be really bad. And I can really tell when my pain meds have worn off. Like, I get about 5 or 6 hours sometimes, and then I start getting bad cramping again. So I was hoping that when the cyst healed that I wouldn't need surgery, but thinking back, I started my period when I was 10, and I started having issues like really bad cramping and bleeding and stuff when I was about 13, and started going to specialists for my period at that point, and was diagnosed with endometriosis. So we're talking almost 30 years I've been dealing with endometriosis. We had a lot of infertility issues. It took us 8 years to get pregnant. The doctors wanted me to get a hysterectomy when I was 18, and I refused because I really wanted to have children, and I just couldn't imagine. At one point I had a doctor's opinion and a second, and they both told me I would never have children. And we had finally given up and said, okay, we're not going to have children. We started our own business. We invested a lot of money in, we were doing dump trucks and logging and stuff like that, and construction. And like 2 months later, I was pregnant. It was unbelievable timing. It was very scary because we had invested all of this money in this business, and now I was pregnant. And I had just a horrible pregnancy. I was sick every day. It wasn't just morning sickness. It was all day sickness. I had lots of pain. Because of the scarring from the endometriosis, I would get just really bad cramping, And I was in the hospital off and on quite a bit because I would just start getting some breakthrough bleeding. And I think it was because, you know, when the baby was in there forming, when you have endometriosis, it's called like meshing, and the endometriosis causes scar tissues and starts to kind of fuse your other organs together, because with endometriosis, instead of having your normal period where you have bleeding that goes out of your body, the bleeding is internal, and it causes like this this scar tissue and meshing, and that's why it's so painful, and that's why a lot of times women can't get pregnant. Well, with my daughter, I also got preeclampsia, and she was born 2 months early, and I almost died in childbirth from blood loss. And through that, they had to do a lot of like crazy stuff to stop the bleeding. And I think because of that, I've never been able to get pregnant again. We've tried, and I've never, with my daughter, that is the one and only time I've ever been pregnant. And I was off and on with birth control to try and help my endometriosis, but most of the time in the 20 years we've been married, I have not been on birth control. So if I think back, you know, it's 30 years of constant issues. I'll have a couple months where things will be okay. I'll still have bed cramping and stuff, but overall, it's a lot of issues. So even though, you know, the pain could be manageable with pain medication, I don't feel like I should have to take pain medication the rest of my life. And I think that no matter how I talk myself through it, that I will end up having a hysterectomy at one point, and I'll be dealing with lots of pain in the meantime. So I guess it's just time to do it. So what this doctor has suggested, and I've got some paperwork on it, it's laparoscopically assisted vaginal hysterectomy. Basically, what they do is they make 3 incisions and they go in laparoscopically. They, you know, are going to try leaving my ovaries unless they go in there and they find that my ovaries have a lot of damage, or the meshing from the endometriosis is so bad that they cannot remove my cervix and my uterus without also taking the ovaries. And if that happens, it will change from the laparoscopically assisted to a full abdominal. They'd have to make a full incision to pull everything out. The issue that I was having, honestly, is that with the assisted vaginal hysterectomy, they take everything out, basically pull it out through your vagina. And then they stitch everything back up and basically rebuild it. The thing is that without your cervix, you don't have a pelvic wall, and without the blood flow, a lot of times if you've ever had an orgasm internally, not just clitoral, you probably won't have another one. And also, blood flow will be diminished all the way down there, and it may even be difficult to have a clitoral orgasm. And this scares the hell out of me. You know, I've been married 20 years, and my husband and I have, you know, a healthy relationship, and it worries me that not only could I start menopause if they take my ovaries, or if my ovaries aren't working properly, but also I might never have another orgasm. So I would love to hear what some of you have to say. If any of you have had this procedure, I think I said mine is scheduled for May 16th. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. I'm also looking into a surgery it's still a hysterectomy, but it's called the Da Vinci surgery. And it is basically a robotic surgery where you're in this sterile like tube, is what I'm envisioning. And it's still laparoscopically, but they put 3D cameras inside. So everything is 3-dimensional imaging, and all of the incisions, and it's doctor assisted, but it's robotic. So everything's done like microscopically. The incisions and everything, there's very little chance of infection. Your recovery time's better. I don't know if my insurance is going to cover it. I found a doctor in my area who does the surgery, and I'm going to call and talk with them about it. My doctor who I'm scheduled with right now does not do that kind of surgery. And the clinic that I'm going to, they kind of were sounding like they wanted to talk me out of it. They said, well, if you're going to go down that route, we should not schedule your surgery and wait. So I don't know anybody that's had the Da Vinci surgery. It's pretty new. But if you're watching and you have had it, please could you let me know what your experience has been? If you know anybody who has had it, or if you've heard anything, I would really appreciate any information that you could give me. And I just ask that you please pray for me for not just for healing, but for guidance to give me peace, you know, because I'm feeling really scared about not just the surgery and what it means in my future, but about dealing with the pain itself, because this is a major surgery. I've had my gallbladder out. I did record that on YouTube. And, you know, I've had a couple other laparoscopic surgeries where I've had cysts removed and things like that. But this is a major surgery. They're taking out my cervix and my uterus, leaving my ovaries, hopefully. But what that does is it creates this void. There's nothing there. And your body, God made it so that everything fits in there perfect, like a little package. You take something out and other things are going to start coming into that space. A lot of people deal with, you know, you sneeze and you pee your pants. I've never had a problem with that. Or you start having problems with your bowels that move into that void, like a prolapsed like bladder or kidneys or bowel that prolapse into that void that you have. And so if any of you have dealt with that, please can you let me know. I started watching some videos and doing some research on online, and it scared the shit out of me. I'm sorry. If you're gonna have something like that, the people, I found that the most of the information that I found is about things that could go wrong. Not a lot about the positive aspects of it or people that have had a good experience. It's usually these nightmare experiences, and it scares me to death. So I would like to hear maybe some good things. That would be good. So I know this video ended up being really long, and I apologize for that, but I wanted to give you guys a real thorough update, and I will continue to video my experience, and hopefully it will help other people that are going through the same thing. So I appreciate all of you watching, your prayers, and the support that you give me, and I hope that you have a great day.